Today, I'll be offering my perspective on how Pan-Africanism engages with or overlooks Black American culture. First, it must be said that not all Black Americans originated from Africa. Many of us are indigenous to this land and were already here long before the transatlantic slave trade, so it's inaccurate to link all of us to African roots. There's a difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Today, the word Black is used as a racial category, but that wasn't always the case. Originally, Black was used specifically to identify enslaved people in America and their descendants. Black Americans have been reclassified many times, from slave to colored, Negro, Black, and eventually African American. Black indigenous people were included in this reclassification. When anthropologists and racial scientists came along and began categorizing people, the term Black expanded to describe everyone with darker skin, certain features, and physical traits. However, for a long time, up until maybe 2 years ago, Black was still used primarily to describe Black Americans, descendants of U.S. slavery. When someone said, "Oh, such and such is Black," it was generally understood that they meant a Black American. Other groups would typically identify themselves by their nationality or ethnicity, like I'm Jamaican, Nigerian, or British, not simply Black. And a lot of people still use the word Black in this way. There has been a long history of other ethnic groups distancing themselves from Black Americans. While part of that is about wanting to be recognized as their own identity, much of it stems from not wanting to be associated with the stigma attached to being a Black American, stereotypes of being lazy, violent, uneducated, or ghetto. This view towards Black Americans came from Europeans and, due to colonization, was internalized by other nationalities.
Yep.
The frustration many Black Americans express towards Pan-Africanism is not random or rooted in division. As I said, over time, Black Americans have encountered dismissive attitudes from other Black ethnic groups who view us through negative stereotypes rather than as a respected people with our own culture and legacy. There's also a reoccurring tendency to center African roots whenever Black Americans come together to celebrate our Blackness. The focus often shifts towards African traditions rather than honoring the beauty of Black American culture itself, as if our culture alone isn't enough. Meanwhile, other groups can celebrate, be respected for their distinct cultural identities without being told to trace every aspect of their expression back to Africa. Black Americans, however, are frequently required to prove our culture's validity and that it exists outside of African traditions. It also comes from the fact that we're often told that we have no culture, or that what we do have is undesirable or ghetto. Yet the whole world participates in our culture daily through our food, music, fashion, language, dance. The same culture people imitate is the one they claim doesn't exist. And that contradiction shows an unwillingness to acknowledge Black American culture and its global influence. Because of all the things I've mentioned and more, when Pan-Africanism is presented, it can sometimes feel less like unity and more like erasure. So the resistance you see from some Black Americans isn't to the idea of solidarity, it's to the constant dismissal of our cultural sovereignty and refusal to honor our unique place in history.
All right, so first off, we got to do this, fellas. We got to make sure that we acknowledge her and her natural hair. Can we do that first, fellas? That's the first thing we got to do. We have to make sure that we acknowledge her natural hair and the fact that she's in shape. We got to acknowledge that first, fellas. It's 154 of y'all in here. We should get 154 claps for this hair that she got in her head. Beautiful, beautiful natural hair. So let's call that out first, because we don't see enough of that. The second thing is, let me call out OG Cedric. Shout out to OG Cedric for the $20 donation. I appreciate you, OG. Much love. You always in here showing support. I appreciate you, OG. Respect to you. But let's call out this natural hair, because good lead. I'm staring at this. She's a beautiful woman, first of all. She has her natural hair in, and she is in shape. Beautiful Black woman. That's number one. Secondly, I'm going to let it play because I wanted to let it slide first. And no diss to the women who wear their unnatural hair. No diss to y'all, but take some notes. Y'all are beautiful however y'all look, but top tier right there. But I wanted to let the video play. Now I'm gonna cut in and butt in now.
Today, I'll be offering my perspective on how Pan-Africanism engages with or overlooks Black American culture. First, it must be said that not all Black Americans originated from Africa. Many of us are indigenous to this.
Let's read this. Historically, there were Black indigenous people in America prior to the transatlantic slave trade. Early European explorers documented dark-skinned native tribes, and many African-looking indigenous people Indigenous groups were already established here before Africans were ever brought up here. 100% facts. People have been saying this now, but the reason why people don't respect Black Americans when we say it, you know why? I think y'all know why. The reason why is because people have been so indoctrinated to think that truth only comes from the white man. And this is no diss to white people. I'm just speaking the real. People only believe that if it's true, they are so indoctrinated, they have to believe that something has to come from the people who have been the most oppressive. So if it doesn't come from the white person, I don't believe anything you say. Y'all ever notice when somebody talks about something, let's say I give some type of game that maybe you have to go to college to learn. You don't have to, but maybe most people go to college to learn it, right? Let's just say I figured it out on my own. You know what a lot of people are going to say? Well, where are your credentials? Now, part of that is true, depending on what you're talking about, right? But if I say something about some diet, right? If I say you can heal yourself through natural remedies, food is a form of medicine and, natural herbs and things like that. People are going to say, well, where are your credentials? So basically what you're saying is, what white person told you that it was okay to understand that? What white person told you this information? Because it has to come from them. Most people are indoctrinated to believe that. So when Black Americans tell people, yes, there were indigenous tribes here, American Indian tribes here that were Black, right? That's not true, because the white person didn't say so. The white people said you guys were from Africa, so you just all from Africa. It's so like it just continues to prompt that notion that we don't really know our true history, and our true history has to go under the umbrella of whatever other people say, and we offer that. So that's the first thing that we have to call out. So I'm glad that she called that out. Let's keep going.
This land and were already here long before the transatlantic slave trade, so it's inaccurate to link all of us to African roots. There's a difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Today, the word Black is used as a racial category, but that wasn't always the case.
Facts. I'm gonna let her break this down, and I'm gonna give my perspective.
Originally, Black was used specifically to identify enslaved people in America and their descendants. Black Americans have been reclassified many times, from slave to colored, Negro, Black, and eventually African American. Black indigenous people were included in this reclassification. When anthropologists and racial scientists came along and began categorizing people, the term Black expanded to describe everyone with darker skin, certain features, and physical traits.
First thing I want to say is I 100% respect all of the people who feel as though we shouldn't classify ourselves as Black. I respect it. I'm going to, for my own personal reasons, and I think most people probably will. But all the people who say we shouldn't classify ourselves as Black, we should classify ourselves as American and Indian, I get it. Okay, I do get it. I'm not knocking y'all. I 100% get it. But everything that she's saying is true, and I want to break it down a little bit more. So first of all, yes, as I said yesterday, and I've said plenty of times, Black in America is completely different than what it is in all of these other countries. Completely different. People did not start to classify themselves as a race globally, right, up until really the 1960s, after the Civil Rights Act, which is Black American culture, civil rights, right? When people started to get associated to America, that's when people started to classify themselves as a racial category, right? So when Africans and Caribbeans and all these other people started to classify themselves as Black or whatever that may be, they did it because they wanted to get the easiest way to classify themselves as American, because they know that American is just a better system, it's a better country than a lot of these other countries based on the freedoms and the things that we have here that Black Americans fought for, that Black Americans built, right? It was based off of us. This is our culture. America is not a foreign land. America is it's ours. So they don't understand that when other people think of Black, they're talking about their racial category, but they don't classify it as their ethnicity, because they classify themselves with what? The tribe that they come from, the country that they come from. So you'll never hear somebody that's just in, I don't know, the Congo who's been there. You won't hear a person in the Congo say that they're Black. No. If they have some education or some knowledge, I guess, on American culture or American society, or maybe their family went to America, or they've been to America or lived in America, they'll say that they're Black, but they're only saying themselves that they're Black to have a racial classification so they can identify with being American. But they don't. That's not what historically they've ever done. They've always classified themselves as their ethnic group, and their ethnic group was the tribes in which they come from. So I'm Nigerian, but I'm Yoruba. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's been. They didn't have a situation to where, yeah, I'm a Nigerian and I'm black and I'm Yoruba. That wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing until the 1960s. And when people started to come over to America, that's when they started to do it. So this is where this confusion comes from, because people like to say that, well, y'all saying y'all black, how do you identify with a race? So it's just like, yeah, but in America, our ethnic, and somebody said it in a live, and I actually never heard it pointed out this way. Let me see if I can scroll up and find it. Somebody said it's our ethnonym. Shout out to you for saying that. Yeah, and it really is. So we classify that as our tribe, as our ethnic group. It's not the same as it is. Yes, it's a racial category globally, but it's different in America. We are the only country that does it this way and historically has done it this way. So this is why I say all the time, like, I don't consider other people that's not black American black, right? You black globally under the social construct of what black globally means, but you're not black in other forms and other senses of it. Just not. We not the same people. The same way I can't be you. I can't be you. It just is what it is, and it's okay. It's not a negative thing, but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But that's really where that comes from, and people just don't like to hear it. But it's the truth. You can't argue against it. Show me where people was classifying themselves as black in the 1920s in their tribe, in their homeland, wherever they was from. Show me where. It wasn't. Let's keep going.
However, for a long time, up until maybe 2 years ago, Black was still used primarily to describe Black Americans, descendants of U.S. slavery. When someone said, oh, such and such is Black, it was generally understood that they meant a Black American. Other groups would typically identify themselves by their nationality or ethnicity, like I'm Jamaican, Nigerian, or British, not simply Black. And a lot of people still use the word Black in this way. There has been a long history of other ethnic groups distancing themselves from Black Americans. While part of that is about wanting to be recognized as their own identity, much of it stems from not wanting to be associated with the stigma attached to being a Black American.
Yep.
Stereotypes of being lazy, violent, uneducated, or ghetto. This view towards Black Americans came from Europeans and, due to colonization, was internalized by other nationalities. The frustration many Black Americans express towards Pan-Africanism is not random or rooted in division. As I said, over time, Black Americans have encountered dismissive attitudes from other Black ethnic groups who view us through negative stereotypes rather than as a respected people with our own culture and legacy.
And you would think that if you was coming over to another country, you would learn the country that you're going to. You would learn the history about the country and the people. These people don't do that. Not all of them, but the majority of them don't do that. The majority of them don't come over here with I have this fond of respect for these people because these people have done this and this and this. And no, they don't have that mentality. They come over here and are being told by their own parents, stay away from the Akata. Don't go near the Akata. You are not a part of them. Those people, you do not go near them. You are from us, and you do not. That's what they being told in these, in their conversations at home. That we all ghetto, we're all lazy, we all intelligent or unintelligent. We don't do anything, right? Which we know that that's untrue because, like she just said, they're being indoctrinated and they don't even know because they're stupid. Not to mention, they still want to be a part of us so they can get the benefit. So if we're so lazy, right? If we're so unintelligent and we don't do nothing, why are you over here trying to go up under us and trying to be a part of our culture? But then we don't do nothing and be lazy because you know that's not the truth. You know that's not the case. You just want to prove it from the white man. You understand that Black Americans have been historically oppressed in this country and we've done things to fight against it. You don't want Tom, Dick, and Harry to look at you in a negative light. You want to, okay, I do, everything, okay, yes, white's fine, yes, white's fine. That's the real truth behind it, and that's cool. You're not one of us. That's cool. We tried to make it to where you was one of us. We tried to. We was all with that Pan-African shit back in the day. A lot of Black Americans were, and we were duped, and we over it now. And now people sick of it. We've held the line way too long. Should have stopped. It should have never even started, right? But we tried to be we all kumbaya. Y'all didn't want the kumbaya. Y'all wanted acceptance. We have a history of resistance. Y'all have a history of fleeing. And this is for the tethers. So y'all can't get mad at us that the fact that we feel how we feel. That's your fault. Y'all started it. So actually, thank you, because you've woken us up and enlightened us to be like, you know what? Fuck all that. So thank you, honestly, for all the tethers that's going to watch this video or is watching it now. Thank you. And if you're not if you're a non-tether, this don't apply to you, right? But this for the tethers. Thanks. Appreciate it. Call ice on your. Put the foo-foo down.
There's also a reoccurring tendency to center African roots whenever Black Americans come together to celebrate our Blackness. The focus often shifts towards African traditions rather than honoring the beauty of Black American culture itself, as if our culture
Mm-hmm.
alone isn't enough. Meanwhile, other groups can celebrate, be respected for their distinct cultural identities without being told to trace every aspect of their expression back to Africa. Black Americans, however, are frequently required to prove our culture's validity and that it exists outside of African traditions.
Go look up, go to Google, type in Black History Month. Tell me the colors that you see. The colors you're gonna see are African colors. You're gonna see green, red, and what, yellow? There's the African colors usually. You're gonna see African colors. Go look it up. Now, go look up Nigerian Independence Day. You know what you're gonna see? You're gonna see green and white. Go look up Jamaican History Day. You know what you're gonna see? Yellow and green. Go look up Haitian Independence Day. You're gonna see blue and red. Every single culture and community gets to have their own specific tradition, and their tradition does not go to kumbaya of Africa. Everybody else gets to be delineated. We can't be delineated though. Y'all notice that? Even with the Juneteenth, if you go type in Juneteenth on Google and just hit photos, you know what you're gonna see? Red, green, and black, or red, green, and yellow, whatever the African kumbaya, African, Pan-African colors. You're gonna see everything that has to do with Africa. But you're not gonna see it with Jamaica. You're not gonna see it with Brazil. You're not gonna see it with any parts of the Caribbean. You ain't gonna see it with the Dominican Republic. You're not gonna see it with no other country in this world that got melanated people in it. But you're gonna see it with us. We are the only group of people on this earth that have to throw our culture to another continent, as a generic continent, by the way. We are the only group of people. Our always has to go back to Africa, a place that we not even from, bro. That's insane to me. That's wild to me. That's literally how indoctrinated this world is. And if y'all don't believe me, go to Google right now and look it up. Go to Google. Just type in Nigerian Independence Day. Look at the colors. Now type in Black History Month. Now type in Juneteenth. And you tell me what the fuck is that. Crazy.
It also comes from the fact that we're often told that we have no culture, or that what we do have is undesirable or ghetto. Yet
Somebody said, how do we change it? Continue to do what we're doing right now. Continue to being you, Mark. Continue to having these conversations and pushing against it.
the whole world participates in our culture daily through our
Not to keep pausing, I already played the video from the jump. For the people that's just joining, I already played the video from the jump, so y'all probably in here complaining. You keep pausing the video. You came late, motherfucker. I played the video and didn't pause it at all. I like to do that, but I'm butting in because I already played the video. Spec said it's our fault. It is our fault, unfortunately, because we gave too much leeway. So I'm glad we're deleting. I'll be seeing Black History events with them Pan-African things for decades, bro. I don't even get that shit attention, bro. If it's not our colors, I don't even fuck with it. If it ain't red, white, and blue, or if it ain't red and yellow and black, or gold, I don't give it attention. I don't even get no type of attention whatsoever.
food, music, fashion, language, dance. The same culture people imitate is the one they claim doesn't exist. And that contradiction shows an unwillingness to acknowledge Black American culture and its global influence. Because of all the things I've mentioned and more, when Pan-Africanism is presented, it can sometimes feel less like unity and more like erasure. So the resistance you see from some Black Americans isn't to the idea of solidarity, it's to the constant dismissal of our cultural sovereignty and refusal to honor our unique place in history.
Shout out to her for speaking facts. Unfortunately, we've been trying to find ourselves via everybody else black, but our unique culture has been valid all along, 100%. The irony of a sleep person calling another asleep. Let me go shaking my head. I didn't get it at first. I get it now. When Jesse Jackson passes away, he should get a 2-gun salute for peace. Oh man, better late than never. We up. No facts, Vincent. Y'all be saying y'all not anything, but y'all be saying shit that I just be like, bro, what is wrong with y'all, man? It's the 2-gun salute for being a sellout. Jesse Jackson did us a great disservice naming us African American. Facts, 100%. Pan-Africanism is not practiced in Africa. Facts. It's not. It's not. It's only practiced and pushed here. It's always us that's the main people like propping up Pan-Africanism. And all the Pan-Africanists only want Black Americans to be Pan African. You know, all the Pan Africans who so anti-America and America is a group and is America is a racist country and it's so oppressive and all of this other stuff, right? They so Africa this Africa that they ass ain't never they ain't even smelled the air of Africa. They ain't never even stepped foot on African soil. They never over there. They always in America, in Decatur somewhere. No disrespect to the people in Decatur. They ass be in Decatur. Talking about some, yo, you in the DMV, talking about some Africa, this and that. Shut the fuck up. You ain't never been to Africa. I don't want to hear nothing about no Pan-Africanism. Shut up. With your HBCU graduate education that you think you better than a motherfucker. Shut your ass up, motherfucker. You ain't never been to Africa. You ain't never helped the people over there in Africa. You ain't never did shit. You sit on in an apartment crying and complaining about how America ain't shit and fuck the FBAs and we all just need to go love on Africa, but your ass ain't never in Africa. You ain't never over there. You ain't never over there. You just sit on the internet and talk. Or on some type of fake page. Pan-Africanism 123. Pan-Africanism King 456. You ain't on. You just a motherfucker talking. You ain't standing on nothing. If you love Africa so much, then take your ass over there and go figure the fuck out. Go build some schools or something. Go help them African people. Since that's your homeland. Go do that. Why are you over here in America telling us? We the people that's just all lost in the press. Okay, cool. We all lost and we don't know nothing. We only 50 million though. It's 1.4 billion over there. Why don't you go collect with them? Why don't you go to the Caribbean and collect with them? Why are you in America? Genuine question for all the Pan-Africanists. Why is you over here? You got all them people over there. You got business people over there, man. Go deal with that shit. He said being Stone Mountain. I'm saying though, like what the fuck, man? And it's 100. It's 180 y'all. I know it's a couple of y'all them Pan-Africans in here. That's in here watching, trying to report the live. They're not gonna take me down, man. Just letting y'all know. Notice how tethers and immigrants tether onto our lineage by calling themselves Black and African American, but I guarantee not one have ever heard. But I guarantee no one have ever heard one of them claim American Indian because they can't. For sure. No, for sure. You're right, Femi. Pan-Africanism isn't even real. It's a failed concept that's supposed to have our economic benefits for us that never happen. It's never gonna be economic benefits for us, Callie. If we want some, hey, if we gonna how about this, Callie? If we gonna do some Pan-Africanism, why don't we call Africa to give us reparations? Since it's so Pan-Africanism, y'all got all that gold and money over there, and we got to come back to the motherland, got all the resources. Where are reparations at then, Africa? Where that? Genuine question. Where's our money? We should be calling out them, honestly. It should be both, on both sides. You feel me? But don't nobody want to call that shit out. Well, I ain't gonna say nobody want to call it out, but I don't think nobody think about calling this out. Stone Mountain used to be a tribal meeting spot for Indians of the area. I never even knew that, Dark. Appreciate you putting us on game. I ain't even know that. I never heard of that.